Welcome to Blue Talks.
Hello, everyone. I just want to take a moment just to breathe all of this wonderful energy in and look at all your faces. It's so lovely to be here with all of you today. It's funny, as I was preparing, I had a whole speech prepared, and after Lisa said what she did to me, suddenly I had this, no, that's not the speech you're supposed to say today. So let's wing it a little bit today. Have any of you ever been doing exactly what you think you're supposed to be doing? You're doing all this stuff, you're taking the steps you know that are going to get you to the next level, and the universe says, oh, hold on, stops you right in your tracks. Yeah, me too. You see, I had been doing all the steps. I had been doing all the things I knew I needed to do. And in January 2020, my universe literally stopped. I got vertigo. And if anybody has had vertigo, it is awful. But I had it so bad, the room was spinning for days. For days. I was literally stopped in my tracks. You see, 7 years before that, I did everything that I knew that I wanted to do and that I needed to do. I wanted to be a better model to my girls. I have 3 girls. I wanted them to learn they could be everything they could be. And I wanted them to learn that life was about living, not about sacrificing ourselves to everyone else, because that's what I was modeling to them. So 7 years earlier, I had left a marriage of 21 years and started to really look at who I was, what I wanted, what I enjoyed, because I'd spent all that time just taking care of everyone else. And then I started to build life, a really awesome life, things I loved, and manifested finding the love of my life. And guess what? I started to worry about all of those people that were being impacted by the change that I had made in my life. You see, my girls, my 2 older girls, had moved out on their own for the first time. My mom, who'd been living with me, I was her primary support. She'd been living with me for a few decades. She moved out on her own. And my youngest was still with us, and it was a huge change. And so I worried about them. Not only that, I worked in public health as a psychiatric nurse. So as I gave and I gave and I gave, I thought I'd learned that lesson, but I guess I didn't, and I worried about everyone else. In January 2020, lots of people know 2020, right? In January of 2020, boom, universe said, you need to stop this. You are not listening to the warnings we've given you all the way along. And I had vertigo, which was just before COVID hit. And so I went to all the tests. The doctors were like, we're not really sure. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe, the other thing. And as I got the test, they didn't really have any answers. Maybe it's your ears, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And then, so I started all the things I was supposed to do, and then COVID hit. And everything was gone. You couldn't go to physio, you couldn't go into the doctor unless it was a real emergency. Everything was gone. And as the fear and anxiety, I don't know about you, but boy, my fear and anxiety was high at that time. And, not only that, there was this incredible guilt that I wasn't there for all those people. I couldn't be physically. At work, I couldn't be there for my clients, I couldn't be there for my girls, I couldn't be there for my mom. And that was a load to carry. And as things settled, as we decided, let's turn the news off. Let's stop, feeding into all of this. Let's start, just knowing that this is the way the world's going to be right now, I finally, I don't know, a few months into it, finally said, all right, universe, what's going on? That's it. You've stopped me completely. What am I not hearing? What do I need to learn? And it was in that moment that I surrendered, that I accepted where I was, that instead of looking at what I thought I wanted life to be in that moment, I began to see life for what it was. And then I said, all right, what's next? And you know, when I did that, and I started to reach out a little bit, I came into contact. We talked about synchronicities earlier. I think Corey was talking about it. I came into contact with a girl that I'd gone to high school with many, many years ago. And she was having a summit. And on that summit, I was like, I'm not really a summit kind of person. I don't really want to watch all these speakers, but I was somehow drawn to it. On that summit, I met two people that were really significant to me over the last few years. The first one was Kelly Filardo, who we know here, and she helped me write my international bestseller, De-Funk Yourself. You know, I wasn't contributing in the way that I was before, where I was helping all my clients, helping my kids and all that. And I wanted to contribute, and so I was able to do that with a little book with tips to guide you out of the funk you're in. I thought the world kind of needed that at that point. She helped me bring it to international bestselling, as an international bestseller. And then the other person I met on that call was a lady named Deanne, and you might have heard her, Deanne Rindeau, who became my mentor and who reminded me that there is more in here. I know we search out there a lot, don't we? Out there for our purpose and out there for what's supposed to be next. She reminded me that everything is in here, that all I ever need is in here, that this is divine, that I am divine. And I learned about the Akashic Records, which I, can now access on anyone's behalf. I learned about my own intuition, and I learned about a whole lot of stuff that I didn't even know existed. It was this amazing world. And I also learned that my two worlds, so my science world as a psychiatric nurse therapist, and my now world of the universe and spirit and divine, they meld so nicely together. And I learned how to do that. And what that taught me is I can manifest magic in my own life. And you can too. So I'm going to talk to you a bit. I just want to say that the timer isn't on, so I have no idea where I'm at time-wise. No worries. So anyways, so I learned how to manifest magic, and everybody has the ability to manifest magic in their own life. Did you know that? Did you know that? Yes. The amazing thing is, again, we all look out there. What's my purpose? What's this? What's that? And it's inside. It's inside. And one of the best things I heard somebody say to me was, what if the journey is the purpose? What if the journey is the purpose? And all the things you're doing are just part of that. And the load that took off of me, that I didn't have to search for my purpose was the journey. That my soul's learning was really what this was all about. And I manifested a whole lots of things. I speak on international stages all the time. I mean, virtual has opened up an amazing world. And I also partner on an event called Embrace the Woo that we have 3 times a year, my partner and I. And we are actually going to be doing it live in November in Mexico, where we can expose people to all sorts of healing. because everybody heals in different ways. And throughout your life, you heal in different ways and you resonate with different things. So I'm excited that I have that. But really, how do you start? That's great that you can manifest and it's all inside, but how do you start that? Well, there's a few steps. I have 3 little steps for you to start just manifesting life the way you want it. And the first step is, you might have heard this before, take small steps. You see, we judge ourselves all the time. I should be there. I should have this. I should know that. I should be further. I should be able to take that step. And all that does is make it heavier for us to carry and to move forward. So the first one is to take smaller steps. Don't judge the steps. Don't judge the steps you're taking. And you'll see, now I'm late on my slides. You'll see the slide that I have. This is a really impactful slide for me right now, because so many of the people I work with that are overwhelmed or they're stuck, it's because they haven't broken it down into small enough steps. They're thinking, I should be able to take that step, and it's too big. So when you look at the small steps, the person on the ladder with the small spaces in the rungs is already almost at the top, whereas the person with the big spaces in the rungs is still trying to take the first step. It's really, really important to stop judging ourselves. And the other little thing with that is, don't judge the judging. When you find yourself judging yourself for where you're at, just acknowledge it. Yep, I know, thank you. And then move on. Don't judge the judging, because again, all of that just puts heaviness on you. The second thing is, get to know yourself. Really get to know yourself. I know that self-care is such a word that's kind of out there right now. And like, bubble baths are great and reading is great, and I think that's wonderful and we need to do that. But really get to know what you love to do, because it's when you find out who you are that you can start taking the steps that you need to. So it's really important to take that time to just get to know, what do I like? What do I love? What fires me up? What gets me going? Take the time to get to know yourself and start doing those things that you love, because you'll be surprised what you'll find when you start doing the things you love that light you up. You start finding more of that. You start finding more of that. And the third thing that I'm going to leave you with is, I'm just going to ask you, how many of you out there are multitaskers? I can tell you, you're probably not multitasking. You're probably not multitasking. I think they say less than 2% of the world actually have brains that can multitask. You're actually taking time away when you're trying to do too many things at once, right? You'll have heard this, I'm sure. There are some studies, and they say when you're working on something and you answer an email and you go back to it, it takes you almost 15 minutes to get back to that task, right? And it takes you 50% longer to get that task done, and you make 50% more mistakes. So multitasking isn't actually helping you get things done or to get further. It's actually in the being present that you start to change your life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about presence, because, now is the only time. It is the only time you can feel. You can make choices. You can hear, you can speak. Now is the only time that you can do that. And so often we are robbing ourselves of now by planning for the future. We used to, I'll age myself with this one. When I used to take a ride into the big city, I lived outside of the city, in the car, we just had us. It was just us, and we were, looking at the license plates or looking at the outside or talking to each other, and we were in the moment. And now with the advancing of technology, we're losing that moment because we're so busy planning for the next one. And we're robbing ourselves of this beauty. I remember when they came out with a battery-operated typewriter. Yes, I know, I've been around for a while. And I used to travel between the two cities. I was in Edmonton, my brother was in Calgary, about a 2.5-hour bus ride. And I used to just enjoy that and read a book. But when I got an electric typewriter, man, I could use that time now to do my homework. And I robbed myself of the time to just allow myself to be here. And instead of having more time, I was taking more time. And so I believe we do that. So how do you start to be more in the present? I'm going to go back to my first tip and say it starts small. Start with small steps, because it doesn't come automatically to us anymore to just be here in the moment. So how many of you walk? Another trick question. Yes, I walk every day. I walk from the kitchen to the living room, from the bedroom to the bathroom. I walk from my car into a store. I walk every day. These are what I call my transition steps. Okay, it's a great time where we usually let our minds go, right? Where we're always, okay, what do I got to do today? What's next? What do I got to get at this appointment? I'm going to challenge you to start using those steps to quiet your mind down. Quiet it down. Start to think about what the incredible things your body is doing to get to move you from this space to that space. How are your muscles working to balance you and get you moving forward? Start with the transition steps. Start there. A second thing that you can do is, do I have coffee drinkers out here, tea drinkers? I'm a tea drinker myself, but coffee drinkers. Every morning you put your coffee on, and I'll do the old, not percolator, but the coffee machine. When you think about what you can do in the morning to just be with your coffee, you take it out, you take the coffee carafe out, you fill it with water, you watch the water, you hear the water, and then you pour it in the coffee carafe and you hear it get poured in. And then you put it in there, click, and you take the coffee out. For you coffee drinkers, I know you're going to smell this right now. And you take the lid off and, oh, the coffee grinds. And then you watch as you spoon that into your filter. And then you turn it on and you hear the shh as it turns on. I'm not a very good sound effect person, but you know what I'm saying. And then you hear it start to drip and start to fill the coffee thing. And then you take your cup out and you click it on the counter, and it's cold. And as the coffee is finished, you take it out. You watch it pour into the mug. You see it swirl around and the steam come up and the smell. And as you bring that coffee cup up to your mouth, it's now warm. And I don't know if you know this, it tastes different at the front of your mouth than it does at the back. So if you really take your time, you'll notice that. How long did that take? Well, that took me about 1.5 minutes to explain it. I'm not talking about big minutes here. Start just taking time in the things you're already doing, just to be present and to slow those thoughts down. Shower is another great thing. Enjoy your shower, because we often are just thinking and thinking. The suds, the sound of the water, the feel of the water, the smell of the soap. Just be in this moment. Start small. Get to know what you like and do that and be there. It's just amazing when you start to pay attention to yourself. You start being present and you start listening to the small voice that comes to you when you are quiet and you are present and you slow this never-ending thought wheel down. Life, you can manifest magic. It's like slowing down to pick life up. So do that. Start small. You'll find incredible things happen when you start to be present. Now, I love this saying that life's too short to play small with your dreams. Robin Sharma, that's not my saying, it's Robin Sharma. But it's a great thing. Let's stop playing small with our dreams and really, really do what we want to do. and be who we want to be. Start small, look inside, find out who you are, and you'll hear everything you need to hear in there. If you need somebody to help you out, to give you a little bit of support with that, you know where you can find me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Not bad.